Welcome to the podcast. I'm Justin,
And I'm Myra.
and today we're going to speak on how to use poor health as inspiration to heal. Immediately, the simplest way to look at this is right now, let's say that whatever it may be that you're struggling with, right? Something as simple as a runny nose or allergies, a headache, maybe some migraines. Or maybe, you got a skinny fat body, a dad bod, and you just, that's not exactly the sort of physique which you would like to radiate. That's not exactly aligned with the first impression that you would like to make in business or in relationships to others. Or you're dealing with something much more severe, like a trapped emotion founded upon a trauma that was instilled in your programming from a young age, or even from, teenage years. All of that. Or even on the big level, like suffering from some sort of diabolical abuse. We're going to talk about how you can use all of those things to really get a new level of fuel, a more strengthened and powerful urgency to heal yourself. So how do you see that?
Yeah, it's a paradox because when you are in this situation, suffering, pain, mental pain, physical pain, all of it, then the ego likes to sit in this condition and, to complain and all those types of negative energy. This is like the default reaction to how people often react to this. And the paradox is in using it as fuel. And this starts, and I know how hard this starts with being grateful for what has happened. And when I read this the first time, it made me really angry.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure if you hear this for the first time, you're also like, what is she talking about? This is bullshit. And here's the thing. So when you stay in your default reaction, you will always get the same default results. And they aren't great. And they are compounding. And by trying something new, having the courage to trying something new, like being grateful for what has happened. And this is so, I know how much this can be outside of your comfort zone. It is far outside your comfort zone and even far out of what you would ever come up with. But this can change your entire trajectory. And this has the potential to free you of what has happened. How do you see this?
We come back to courage quite frequently because it's an initial starting point, right? To be skeptical, to ask oneself, to just look at the situation and to even consider being grateful for something which seems to have brought you so much pain. How do we bring that gratitude into the fold? It's really, it can seem tricky and it can seem confusing, but it's really to begin to evolve, not to evolve, but to just pull some maturity into your psychological worldview in terms of just clearly seeing, I know something may have been painful, but the fact is that we can't reverse it, right? It's already happened. And no matter how much suffering has been derived from a certain thing unfolding in your life, if it cannot be changed, the fact is we can't change the past. So what can we change? The way we see it, our perception of it. The fact is we can't change the past. We just can't. Like, maybe if we could, I would tell you something else, but we can't. So therefore, the the actuality of the situation is, no matter how much suffering you're in right now or how much pain you felt before, that has only been brought into your life to be something that you can use as a place to grasp insight from, a place to learn from, a place to inquire upon the structure of how that unfolded in your life. So, who specifically did something to you, your specific condition or diagnosis? Now, bear with me here, be patient with me, but I'm going to say the fact is that it's irrelevant. Because what content, what specifics do is so frequently get you and I trapped deeper into the quicksand of self-pity, of victimization, of the survival mindset, of I can't believe this happened to me. But when we drop all of the specifics and we look at the structure, right, which is that whatever physical disease has brought itself into your life, that cannot happen without psychological friction, without psychological dismay and misalignment. So when we zoom out and see the structure is that all physical disease is derived via a imbalance within our spirit, within our energy, within our core, within our nature, within our relationship with our thinking and emotions. So that's the fact, that's the structure. Now we can zoom out and start to attend to our psychological deviousness. We can start to attend to and become aware of the way that we're creating our physical disease. Because, it might seem a little like this is a lot to take in, but if we're energy at our core, and when you throw a rock into a lake, it has ripples and ripples and ripples, and we realize that 70% plus of our physical body is water, maybe that ripple, that analogy, isn't too far off for the nature of our psychology. Maybe even our psychological worldview is rippling into others, and maybe our own dismay could even create physical disease within them. Now, but we're going to start with the fact, which is your relationship with yourself, your psychological movements. When you attend to that, when you become more aware of what you were previously unaware of, you're going to start to notice your blind spots and to notice the stories you tell yourself, that they might not be so encouraging. That if you're continuously labeling yourself, I'm depressed, I'm depressed, I'm depressed, maybe it makes sense that the frequency of that depression manifest physically. So, yeah, calm me down.
You brought up so many good points. It's, first of all, so many good points. And I can almost hear the ego scream, but you don't know my situation. How can you say this? You don't know my situation. And this is the ego's focus on content. You see, this was when I heard this concept for the first time, this was my reaction. I got so angry. You don't know my situation. Of course you don't, and you don't need to. What we're looking at is the structure. And the structure is always the same. No matter what is causing the pain or what has caused the pain in the past, it doesn't matter. Because when you focus on it, when you focus on the pain, when you focus on resentment, when you focus on, feeling like, I don't know, the universe had it out for you or something, this is the energy you're in. This is what creates your thoughts. This is the ripple effect you were talking about. And the only way to get out of this, because when you keep focusing on this, it's like quicksand. You will get in deeper and deeper because you are always 100% in this energy of resentment, of pain, of anger, of fear, of all of those low energy emotions. But once you're like, okay, I'm open to find a new way because I want to be free of it. I want to be free of the pain. How can I do this? And this is where the shift happens. When you move through, when you allow yourself to feel it, because resenting it is a way of distraction. Resenting it means you're not looking. You see there's something, but you don't want to touch it. So, you focus your anger and your resentment onto it. But allowing yourself to feel it, and this is, when I read about this, some people refer to this as the dark valley. You have to go through the dark valley, or just, move through your own feelings. And this is painful. But then there's this point of when you realize, oh, I released those emotions. They are out of my system, or at least a part of them is out of my system. And it's a process that takes courage, that takes a lot of openness, but it's well worth it. And then suddenly you're like, how can my life change so much? How did this happen? Because you didn't, it is a big step, but at the same time, it's a small step. It's the step of being open to not focusing on this energy anymore.
Right. And it's kind of this beautiful game of, okay, there's something that I've been running from. There's something that's been a pit in my life. And it might be hard. It will be hard. But what's beautiful about it is there's something that's harder. And that's to not attend. That's to not be open to feeling what you're feeling. Because in that moment that you do bring the courage and the openness to truly feel and listen and see what you're thinking and what you're feeling emotionally, then the pain itself kind of dissipates because you've allowed yourself to see, hear, and feel. And what's kind of beautiful is that anger is not a bad thing. Anger only becomes tricky if you're so busy running from it. But if you'll notice that you're angry and you'll notice it arise in the moment, and you'll feel that anger in the moment, you'll actually free yourself from anger, which is kind of, if you try to think about that, it does seem a little bit tricky.
Yeah, and it's because, when you read about the topic, they're like, how to put this? There are, of course, many perspectives. And one perspective is, don't let yourself fall into the anger so that the anger gets momentum. This is a different thing than moving through it. There's a nuance. When the ego is focusing on the anger, on the resentment, and is getting deeper and deeper into it so that it gets momentum, that's not it. That's the default reaction. But allowing yourself to feel it and to move through because you want to release it, that's different. I feel the first way might even be a weird form of distraction because you're creating more anger because you're angry. And this is a form of distraction from the initial anger. I'm not sure. But
you bring up a valuable point, which is you might be doing something amazing, which is having the courage and the openness to feel the anger, but then you might start judging your anger. And that's the ego coming back in, thinking. So, right, you take one step at a time. Notice the anger, and then notice if you're judging the noticing of the anger. So this is a very I don't want to say it's subtle, but it takes a level of drive and energy where you're so clearly finished with living the way that you've been living, right? And that's why I listed all of the pain points at the beginning, whether it be a headache, runny nose, a broken heart, or physical disease, being obese, anything like that. Or something deeply psychological where you really went through something traumatic. The bottom line is, whether it's anger or trauma or something more minor, there are roots, and we can only figure out and unveil the deep, dark roots by being open enough to attend to the arising, and then to question and to watch how we might even judge once we start to notice how this is all moving within us. And Myra brought up a beautiful point earlier, which is, as you guys listen, how you can practically benefit from what we're sharing here is to listen in a way where you do the work as we're doing it, as you bring accuracy and precision into your psychology as you're listening. So when you're listening, if you notice yourself agreeing or disagreeing with me or Myra, that's not listening. You can't learn if you're agreeing, disagreeing, which implies that you're thinking while meaning to be listening. Because the real true listening is listening when your mind is fully unoccupied. Fully unoccupied, nice phrase. But truly, not empty, but unoccupied. When your mind is silent. And therefore you can't be liking or disliking what we're saying. You can't be agreeing or disagreeing to what we're saying. So that's the game, right? And as Myra pointed out, she could probably observe her own ego say, how could he be saying this? But when we see the truth of life clearly, we realize that there are structures, and then that the psychology and that the simplicity of structures is that we're all so similar in a structural perspective. Now, skin color, culture, specific religion, history, past, future, specific environments, parenting styles, teachers, we're all going to have different details there, but the structure is all the same. And if we'll just zoom out, and so I'm not a huge fan of holy books, because religion a lot of the time creates conformity and dullness within people. But one thing that's obvious in holy books is most of the time they're speaking in a structural perspective. That's not nothing. That's not nothing. And when we speak in structure, we reduce the odds of triggering other egos. So it makes it easier. We increase the likelihood that we can all learn together, that we can meet each other at the same level, at the same frequency. And when that happens, we have a real relationship. We create space for something so alive to flow through us. So that's why I'm speaking in a structural perspective, to see if we can get that river of life flowing through all of us. That's what we got to do. That's what we got to do. So if you've enjoyed this, Myra and I will have our newsletter below, totally free, daily writings. You'll enjoy, I guarantee it. And, if you're on YouTube or podcast, review, share it with a friend, let us know. What really sparked you here? Was there anything that you would like to speak about further? Ask some questions. Be skeptical. I invite you. Anything else?
Yeah, and also if your ego got triggered during what we have said, this might just be a sign there's something to discover for you.
She knows. Okay, let's go. Have a wonderful day.